Okay, so we're going to be going over how to get the most out of your workouts, which some of this may be a review for some people. Either way, I think this is always a good refresher. I think even for myself, sometimes it's good to, remember what can make a good workout, what the intention is behind the specific workout that you're doing. Each workout has a different intention. So I think understanding what you're doing, when you're doing it, and those little reminders of feeling good, like every once in a while, I'm sure maybe you have those days where you go and work out and you feel like you're going to pass out and you're like, I didn't eat anything. Why did I do that? So sometimes we just need those reminders. So, first thing is strength training versus endurance training. Another way to word this is aerobic training versus anaerobic training. Wow, I wrote aerobic twice. So strength training is anaerobic with an N in it. How confusing. And then endurance is aerobic without an N. Okay. So strength training versus endurance training. Knowing when your workout is strength training based or endurance based and treating the movement as such. So, what I see with beginners a lot of times, let's say we're doing squats, they're doing the squats really fast, they're using maybe 10, 20 pounds, and they're like, all right, well, I did my first set. I need to keep moving, right? I need to keep my heart rate up. I need to keep sweating. That's how I'm going to burn more calories. So, let me get right into the next set. What you're really doing then is you're doing cardio. And that's why when you hear like HIIT training, a lot of times people will think of like, an F45 class or maybe like an Orange Theory class. When you hear HIIT, I think a lot of people think of like strength training workouts. HIIT can be any form of, high intensity interval sort of thing. So you can be on a treadmill and if you run 30 seconds and walk 1 minute, 30 seconds, walk 1 minute, that's a form of HIIT as well. So I think treating strength training and HIIT cardio has kind of like blended and it's been kind of a gray area, I think, over the last couple of years with a bunch of different group fitness classes and whatnot, and just kind of being addicted to that, like, I'm sweating, my heart is pounding, that must be a good workout. That's great if your goal is cardiovascular health, right? Like you're focusing on your heart rate, which obviously there's a time and place for that. But if your main goal, if the coach you're working with is programming strength training, then knowing the difference. So strength training is heavy ass weight. We are testing your strength. And when I say like 10 to 20 pounds, that's not because like, oh, that's just a weak person. I can pretty much guarantee, unless somebody's had like a double knee replacement, you can squat more than 10 or 20 pounds. Your body, it alone probably weighs 100, 150, maybe 200 pounds. If you can sit down and stand up, you can squat more than 10 or 20 pounds. If you can carry your groceries from the car to your kitchen, you can bicep curl more than 20 to 30 pounds. Okay, for real. So knowing your own strength is going to be really important and being realistic. If you're carrying a bunch of books or a backpack, you can lift heavier weights in the gym, I promise. Endurance-based workouts, those are the aerobic movements. That's when you can do a weight for more than like 12 reps. So if you're getting into that like 13, 14, 15, 20 rep range, and sometimes you don't know until you try it. So if you're like, am I doing that? Am I treating my workouts as an aerobic exercise? Maybe just try the normal weight that you've been doing and find your failure. See, okay, how many reps can I actually do of this? If I've been, squatting 30, 40 pounds, let me see how many reps I can do until I literally, cannot get up from my squat. Obviously, do it safely. But finding that true end, I think, is really important to know that. So yeah, if you're getting past 12 reps, that's a pretty good indicator that you're really treating it as an endurance-based workout. And that also would mean like shorter rest times and whatnot. So, like I said, beginners tend to approach their strength training sessions as cardio because they only know that success feels like sweating or a fast heart rate. I want to put it out there that if you are lifting heavy weights, you will be sweating and your heart rate will go up. So I guarantee those two things are going to happen. But if the only way that you know how to access that feeling is by, moving quicker, you're just going to be you're going to be spinning your wheels, so making sure that you're tapping into that anaerobic exercise and that aerobic exercise. Your heart rate will go up, you will be sweating if you are challenging yourself with weights, I promise you. Follow the rule of 8. I always like to kind of sprinkle this in here. I think I heard this in the beginning of my fitness journey. It's always stuck with me, and I think it's really important to kind of check in. So if you aren't struggling by rep number 8, it's probably too late for you, bro. All right, warm-up sets versus working sets. I think this is also something that maybe sometimes, we sort of forget or don't prioritize too much, or maybe some beginners just aren't aware of in general. So your programmed sets, so for example, in the frequency app, let's say you have 3 sets of squats, right? So 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Those are your working sets. You should be doing 1 to 2 warm-up or acclimation sets before you get into those 3 true working sets, right? Your true strength potential. For example, I can squat, let's say 150 pounds. I am not about to walk into the gym, do a couple stretches, and immediately start repping out 150 pounds. But I would really be leaving a lot of progress on the table if for those 3 sets, I use those to warm up. Okay, well, I'm going to do 100 pounds for my first set. I'm going to do 130 pounds for my second set. And for my third set, I'll do what I can actually do, which is 150 pounds. So what I just did is instead of utilizing my 3 working sets, I just wasted the first 2 as warm-up sets. So I'd rather you take 1 or 2 warm-up sets where you don't even need to count reps. Honestly, you could probably just do like 3, 5, 6 reps, however, it doesn't really matter. Just where you feel warmed up, you feel acclimated to the weight. You feel like, okay, I'm not about to, drop this weight or bust a knee or something like that. I've put the weight on my back. I've truly gotten warmed up. And now I found my working set. So basically all 3 of those sets should essentially be kind of like the same weight, your true potential. Maybe the last set, if you want to add, a couple more pounds here and there, which I'll talk about that, like progressive overload. But yeah, making sure that you're utilizing warm-up sets and acclimation sets. If you go past your programmed rep range, so again, if that example is 10 to 12 reps, and if you can get 12 reps, 13 reps, like if you can physically do that, that means you need to go up in weight, right? That programmed range is telling you the weight that you should be using. I don't know your strength, especially, day to day, depending on where you're at in your cycle. Some days I can squat 150 pounds. Some days I can squat 200 pounds. Some days I can, I feel like I'm going to die at 130 pounds. So listen to your own body, but also know your own strength. Find where the weight that you need to use to be appropriately within that rep range. Okay. You shouldn't have terrible form by the 10th rep, right? Where you're going to hurt yourself and you're dropping the weight. But if you're getting to 12 reps pretty smoothly to where you can do 13 and 14, you probably should go up in weight. The goal is to use a weight that you can only do for those programmed reps. Working sets also require you to use your breath properly. That's a really good way to know that you are utilizing a weight that's challenging. So what you should be doing, and I can really give you more specific feedback on this when you send form videos, but kind of like a general rule of thumb is you should be inhaling on the eccentric. So that would mean like the easy part of the squat. So like going down, right? No one has an issue going down on a squat. The issue is getting the weight back up. Or like a bicep curl going down on the bicep curl. So that's the eccentric. Nobody has an issue with that. It's the curling it up. That's hard. So that's when you want to inhale. You want to inhale when it's like easy in the movement or when it's like more of like a stretch in the movement. And then you want to exhale on the concentric. So when it's hard, when you're like, ooh, so we're utilizing that breath, that big exhale. And then also your breath should be bracing your core. So when you're filling up with that inhale, you should really feel your lungs, your diaphragm, all the way into your belly expand. That's going to create pressure all around your torso to protect your lower back, to engage your core. And then keep that braced, as you are doing the concentric part. So as you're doing the squat, coming up out of the squat or the bicep curl or whatever. Rest timers. Your rest timer is in your app for a reason. It is programmed for a reason. If you are completely recovered for that next set before, let's say, a full 90 seconds of rest, you need to be using heavier weights. And again, that's just a good rule of thumb of like, okay, I was fully recovered, but within 60 seconds or within 70 seconds, I know that I can go up in weight. And again, your heart rate will go up if you are using challenging weight rather than just saying, how fast can I go through these movements? Record yourself, watch those videos during your rest. I think that's really important. I think sometimes if we're, resting too much, that's definitely a thing, or if you're getting distracted and scrolling on your phone. So something I like to do is record yourself and then watch those during your rests. And then if you notice anything of like, oh, my, shoulders look like they're really high up by my ears, or my back doesn't look straight, or, my heels are coming up in my squat or whatever, then try to make those little like improvements, for your next set, as well as just intensity. I think that's really important too, watching your own videos. If you're like, oh, I thought I was struggling by that 10th rep, but I'm watching it and I actually look completely fine. The weight moved up pretty quick. Sometimes we need that like external feedback from watching ourselves again and being like, okay, I am strong. I do trust myself. Also using the RPE scale. So at the end of your workouts in the frequency app, it'll ask you to like rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I don't know if it says RPE, but that is called an RPE scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like, I could not have done another rep. I barely made it out of the gym alive. And then 1 being like, I didn't even work out, so that's your scale basically of intensity. But I think not only is it important to rate your entire workout at the end, but also rate each set. Just have that own mental kind of feedback, assessing how challenging was that set? How many reps did you have left in the tank? A good rule of thumb is having about 1 to 3 reps left in the tank. We don't want to be going to our absolute failure every single set. You're going to absolutely demolish your central nervous system and then could potentially just like hurt yourself. So having about 1 to 3 reps left in the tank is a good place to be. Progressive overload. So this is really the only way your body's going to actually change. It's based on the theory of adaptation. So that's probably why most of you guys want to be here. You want something to change about your body. Maybe you want to look a little bit more lean, a little bit more toned. Your body is only going to adapt. It's only going to change if you give it a new stimulus to adapt to. If you're asking it to do the same thing over and over and over, why does it need to change? It's not going to change. So it adapts to whatever stimulus you're asking of it. So a good rule of thumb for a progressive overload, especially if you're within the first year or so of lifting, is try to add 1 to 5 pounds on some movement each week. Sometimes the first couple months you might be able to add 1 to 5 pounds to literally every single movement each week, and that's amazing. Obviously, you're probably going to get to a point, if you've been lifting 5, 10, 15 years, if you were adding 1 to 5 pounds to every movement each week, you'd literally be squatting 10,000 pounds eventually. So, but utilize that. If you still have that, if you're still in that phase of your workout, your fitness journey, that you are literally getting stronger each week, this is when results can really be the quickest. So take advantage of that, add some weight, or add, 1 to 2 reps to each movement each week. Both of those would be considered progressive overload. And this is how we will progress. If you are progressing in the gym, you will be progressing physically. All right. So I think we focus way too much on the scale and our progress pictures. And then it's like, well, let me pick up the same 20-pound dumbbells in the gym. That is where your progress happens, right? But nothing's going to change if nothing changes. Progressive overload also will apply if your form is getting better each week, if your heart rate is just recovering quicker, if your tempo is becoming more intentional, meaning like, instead of going super quick through your movements, now you're slowing down, you're controlling it, or meaning that this heavier weight is moving quicker. So either way, whether your tempo is moving quicker or moving slower kind of depends person to person, depending on the movement. But all of these things are also really good indicators that you are progressing. So even if maybe you're at your max potential for weights and reps this week, if you can perform, your squats just a little bit better, or your deadlifts a little bit better, or whatever, range of motion, things like that are also ways to make sure that you are progressing in the gym and therefore physically. And my last little tidbit is food. So make sure to eat about 90 minutes before a workout, give or take. It doesn't have to be right on the dot at 90 minutes. Prioritize carbs and protein before your workout as well as after your workout. So I like to have the majority of my fats kind of like far away from my workout, if that makes sense. So like if I'm working out in the middle of the day, I'm going to have the majority of my fats for breakfast and some for dinner, and around my workouts is when I really want a big hit of carbs and a big hit of protein, especially protein after a workout. So eat within 90 minutes after a workout. This isn't absolutely crucial, but I definitely, and that's probably a good sign of, did you utilize a lot of your glycogen stores, meaning like your energy through strength? You should probably be a little bit hungry within 90 minutes after a workout. But make sure you eat when you're fully rested and recovered. I see way too often people immediately, like in the locker room in the gym, start chugging a protein shake and they're still sweating and whatever. You really want to make sure that you are eating, you are digesting food when you are in the parasympathetic state. So when you are rested and digested, right? So if you're drinking a 20 gram of protein shake immediately while you're still in the car and you're still feeling like revved up, you're not really going to be absorbing that protein and those nutrients the best that you could. So try to make sure that you at least take a couple deep breaths and slow down before you do eat food. Do not train fasted, no matter what you do. I don't care if you work out at 4 a.m., at least have coconut water, maybe a half a scoop of protein powder in that, or a fruit, maybe banana, a little yogurt. Please eat something. Do not eat fasted, or do not work out fasted. And go into your workout already hydrated so that you aren't chugging too much water. I definitely had that issue. I feel like for the first like 2 years of working out, I could not understand how people possibly drank water and worked out, because I feel like I would drink so much water. I'd be so thirsty, and then I had this big old belly sloshed in a round of water, could barely perform any ab exercises. It'd be so uncomfortable. So just make sure you're drinking lots of water before your workout. Try not to get to the point where you're like chugging it because you haven't had enough water for the day. Oh, all right. That's it. Any comments, questions, concerns, anything that hit, resonated? Oh, Katie's here. How exciting.
Hey girl, how you doing?
Hey, girl. I love this. No. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for showing up. You're awesome. Like I said, I'll be giving away 2 free supplements at the end of the month, whoever is on each call. So, I'll be taking note. I recorded who's on these calls, and then also just being active in the Discord. So thanks again. See you next week. Bye.